Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna. Gaura Pimarandi, Jayam Vishupad Paramahamsa, Parivradgacharya Stotra Satta Sri Simar, His Divine Grace, Shirabai Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki, Skandi Biti, Founder Charya's Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Samavata Bhaktivinoda Ki, Harinama Sankirtan Ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Jayanitai Gaura Pimarandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Taksurandiritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanditam Sya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kansana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusite Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Paditanam Pavanayo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraya. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the Supremost Human Being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayeshabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyaya Namaha. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Om Sarabhyaya Namaha. Mukam karoti vasalam pangom nangayate girim yat kripat maham bande shigaram dinataranam yat kripat maham bande shigaram dinataranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome to our morning Bhagavatam class, continuing from canto number 2, chapter 1, entitled The First Step in God Realization, and today's text is number 8, correct? Yes. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samitam. Sounds familiar, no?
But only the first two lines.
Right. Adhitavam Dwaparadau Pitur Dvaipayanad Aham Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamitam Adhitavan Dvaparadau Pitur Dvaipayanad Aham Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamitam Adhitavan Dvaparadau Pitur Dvaipayanad Aham Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamitam Adhitavan Dvaparadau Pitur Dvaipayanad Aham. Bolo. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahmasamritam Adhitavan Dvaparadau Pitur Dvaipayanad Aham.
Idam Bhagavatam Nama
Puranam Brahmasamhitam Adhitavan Dvaparadau Pitur Dvaipayanad Aham. Idam, this Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, Nama, of the name, Puranam, Vedic supplement, Brahmasamitam, approved as the essence of the Vedas,
as the essence of the Vedas.
Adhitavan,
Adhitavan,
studied,
studied,
Dvaipara Adao,
Dvaparadav,
at the end of the Dwapara Yuga,
at the end of Dwapara Yuga,
Pituhu,
Pituhu,
from my father,
from my father,
Dvaipayanat,
Dvaipayanat,
Dvaipayana Vyasadeva,
Dvaipayana Vyasadeva,
Aham,
Aham,
myself.
myself.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
At the end of the Dwapara Yuga, I studied this great supplement of Vedic literature named Srimad Bhagavatam, which is equal to all the Vedas, from my father, Srila Dvaipayana Vyasadeva. Kindly repeat after me. At the end of the Dwapara Yuga,
At the end of the Dwapara Yuga,
I studied this great supplement
I studied this great subject
of Vedic literature
of Vedic literature
named Srimad Bhagavatam,
named Srimad Bhagavatam,
which is equal
which is equal
to all the Vedas,
to all the Vedas
from my father,
from my father,
Srila Dvaipayana Vyasadeva.
Srila Dvaipayana Vyasadeva.
Purport. The statement made by Srila Shukadeva Goswami that the topmost transcendentalist, who is beyond the jurisdiction of regulations and restrictions, mainly takes to the task of hearing about and glorifying the personality of Godhead, is verified by his personal example. Shukadeva Goswami, being a recognized liberated soul and the topmost transcendentalist, was accepted by all of the topmost sages present in the meeting during the last 7 days of Maharaj Parikshit. He cites from the example of his life that he himself was attracted to the transcendental activities of the Lord, and he studied Srimad Bhagavatam from his great father, Sri Dvaipayana Vyasadeva. Srimad Bhagavatam, or for that matter, any other scientific literature, cannot be studied at home by one's own intellectual capacity. Medical books of anatomy or physiology are available in the market, but no one can become a qualified medical practitioner simply by reading such books at home. One has to be admitted to the medical college and study the books under the guidance of learned professors. Therefore, Varnashram College. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is in italic, the postgraduate study of the science of Godhead, end of italic, can only be learned by studying it at the feet of a realized soul like Srila Vyasadeva. Although Shukadeva Goswami was a liberated soul from the very day of his birth, he still had to take lessons of Srimad Bhagavatam from his great, excuse me, water, from his great father, Vyasadeva, who compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam under the instruction of another great soul, Sri Narada Muni, here. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed a learned Brahmana to study Srimad Bhagavatam from a personal Bhagavata. Srimad Bhagavatam is based on the transcendental name, form, attributes, pastimes, entourage, and variegatedness of the Supreme Person. And it is spoken by the incarnation of the personality of Godhead, Srila Vyasadeva. Pastimes of the Lord are executed in cooperation with His pure devotees, and consequently, historical incidences are mentioned in this great literature because they are related to Krishna. It is called Brahma Samitam because it is the sound representative of Lord Krishna, like the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the sound incarnation of the Lord because it is spoken by the Supreme Lord. And Srimad Bhagavatam is the sound representative, of the Lord because it was spoken by the incarnation of the Lord about the activities of the Lord. So this very nice distinction is being made here. Bhagavad Gita is the sound incarnation. It is a sound incarnation because it was spoken directly by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Whereas the Srimad Bhagavatam is a sound representative. The sound representative of the Lord. Because it was spoken by the incarnation of the Lord about the activities of the Lord. As stated in the beginning of this book, it is the essence of the Vedic desire tree and the natural commentation on the Brahma Sutras, the topmost philosophical thesis on the subject matter of Brahman. Vyasadeva appeared at the end of Dwapara Yuga as the son of Satyavati, and therefore the word Dwapara Adao, or the beginning of Dwapara Yuga, in this context means just prior to the beginning of the Kali Yuga.
Can you repeat again?
I will repeat this again. And therefore the word Dwapara Adao, or the beginning of Dwapara Yuga, in this context means just prior to the beginning of the Kali Yuga. You can think about that. The logic of this statement, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, what doesn't appear to be logical, we have to consult with the experts in the field. So the logic of this statement, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, is comparable to that of calling the upper portion of the tree the beginning. The root of the tree is the beginning of the tree, but in common knowledge, the upper portion of the tree is first seen. In that way, the end of the tree is accepted as its beginning. If you want to argue with Srila Jiva Goswami, this is, yes, this ends the purport. We can also understand how, because the Lord appears at the end, Lord Krishna's incarnation, Lord Krishna himself, as the as the avatari, the source of all incarnations. He appears at the end of Dwapara Yuga and speaks Bhagavad Gita, which is a culmination and a perfectional stage, we can say, of the Dwapara Yuga. But we should simply stick to the logic that is given by Srila Jiva Goswami, that, yeah, the logic of this statement, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, is comparable to that of calling the upper portion of the tree the beginning. But actually the beginning is the root. It is because of the root, which comes from the seed, that, yeah, but the root always remains in the ground. We don't see it. We see the tree and we think the top of the tree is the beginning of the tree. But the beginning of the tree is in the ground. So this example is given here. The world has yet to know, and the world has yet to understand the glories of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And of course, Srila Jiva Goswami is mentioned here, especially at the end of the purport, because he is especially that personality who has we can say demonstrated by logic, by argument, by references in the Shastra also, how, this is also stated here in the text itself, that the Srimad Bhagavatam is a culmination, how it is mentioned in the text. Srimad Bhagavatam is equal to all the Vedas, is equal to all the Vedas. Srila Jiva Goswami goes further by establishing, again according to references, that the Bhagavatam is more important than the Vedas. That the Srimad Bhagavatam is revealing more information than the Vedas are revealing. The text is telling is equal to the Vedas. Srimad Bhagavatam is that's also referred to here, the natural commentary on what is considered the topmost philosophical book of knowledge, which is the Brahma Samhita. And that, what is it? Brahma Sutra. Yeah, in which we find Vedanta Sutra, Brahma Sutra, Vedanta Sutra, in which we find in the first text or the first aphorism itself, often quoted by Srila Prabhupada, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. The Vedanta Sutra was a culmination of Srila Vyasadev's writing of the Vedic literatures. And it is after writing or composing the Vedanta Sutra, Vedanta meaning the culmination or the end of all knowledge, as nicely explained in the Bhagavatam itself, that, that he composed the Srimad Bhagavatam. In other words, the Srimad Bhagavatam is actually the culmination and the ripened fruit that's described in the Bhagavatam itself, the ripened fruit of the Vedic literatures, because it was composed by the author Srila Vyasadeva in his mature stage. And that is why in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, in all of the Vaishnava Sampradayas, the Bhagavatam is the topmost literature which is dealing with the subject matter of transcendence. Here it also mentions how this great personality, Shukadeva Goswami, who is speaking the Bhagavatam, who is gradually revealing the Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, he himself is an example of having heard himself the Bhagavatam from his father, who is not an ordinary father, being the literary incarnation of God, Srila Vyasadeva. It's very interesting, those who study the Satsandarbhas. Have you studied that yet? Satsandarbhas, yeah. The Satsandarbhas are accepted by our acharyas. Even they are accepted by, let's say, scholars to this day as being topmost philosophical presentation of the topmost subject matter of spirituality or transcendence. And it's very interesting when we begin to study the Satsandarbhas, we can analyze and we can observe how Srila Jiva Goswami, who was born in Vaishnava family and had the wonderful association of great personalities like Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, how he in a very simple but very logical manner establishes this very important point, this Siddhanta, that the Bhagavatam is the literature that should be studied over and above any other literatures, including the original Vedas. Obviously, the Bhagavatam does not contradict the Vedas, but the point being explained by Srila Jiva Goswami is that the Srimad Bhagavatam, as it was instructed by the spiritual master of Srila Vyasadeva, Srila Narada Muni, reveals more knowledge, transcendental knowledge, and specifically reveals more transcendental knowledge in relation to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. A lot of this knowledge was actually, or even now, remains concealed in the Vedic literatures. And it was especially the Goswamis of Vrindavan who were requested or deputed and empowered as well to take out this essence of the Vedic literatures, which further add or support the statements that are made in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore the Srimad Bhagavatam is worshipped, is considered the topmost and most important of literatures, by our Vaishnav acharyas, and the process, again, is nicely explained how Shukadeva Goswami, as we know, was a self-realized soul even before taking birth. Bhagavatam explains how he was hesitating to take birth. None of us have hesitated to take birth. But he did not want to take birth, and he remained in the womb of his mother for a period of time which is unknown in modern day society. 16 years before taking birth. And although he was a self-realized soul, he became attracted to the subject matter that is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Again, giving or underlining the aspect of the whole personal dimension, let's say, of Godhead. It is that is touched upon, of course, again and again throughout the Bhagavatam. How the Bhagavatam is leading us, preparing us gradually to hear about and to appreciate the personal attributes, the name and qualities and activities and associates, etc., of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this verse is easy to remember because we already know the first two lines. And the translation again: at the end of the Dwapara Yuga, I studied. This is Shukadeva Goswami speaking. I studied this great supplement of Vedic literature named Srimad Bhagavatam, which is equal to all the Vedas, from my father, Srila Dvaipayana Vyasadeva. So any thoughts, comments? Yes?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Thank you for your class. In that verse, Atmarama Chamunaya, it is described that even the fully satisfied, self-realized person get attracted to topic concerning of Krishna.
Yes.
And in that section also, it is mentioned that Shukadeva Goswami, he was impersonalist before.
Yes.
Yeah, so can you comment on that? How he's an impersonalist he's the son of Vyasadeva. Yeah. Same thing also, like I was thinking like about the Kumaras also in the beginning. In the beginning, they were impersonalities.
Yes.
But they were the sons of
Brahma.
Brahma, pure devotee. So
Yes.
can you make a comment on that? Thank you.
So the question is, how is it that such great personalities as Shukadeva Goswami, whose father was none other than Srila Vyasadeva, an incarnation of the Lord, how is it that he was an impersonalist? And how is it similarly that the Kumaras, who are also none other than the sons of Lord Brahma, so we constantly hear about how birth is the nature of an individual is not simply by birth. I mean, that's one of the flaws that has been introduced within the Vedic culture, that to be a Brahmana, you have to be born of a Brahmana father. So in a similar way, very often there will be personalities whose father may be a great devotee, but of course both of these personalities, or all of these personalities, the four Kumaras and Shukadeva Goswami, they were great transcendentalists, but they were not immediately Vaishnavas or personalists, only when they came in contact with the something in relation with Krishna. In the case of Shukadeva Goswami, it was the transcendental description, sound vibration, and in the case of the Kumaras, it was the smelling of tulasi at the lotus feet of Narayana. So, so the point being that we don't know the previous history of personalities who are born in any family, for that matter. So even one may be born in a great Vaishnava family, he may turn out just like King Vena. His father was very qualified, etc. But it is a very, very intricate and complex matter in regards to those who are taking birth here in the material world, because we have a very long history, and therefore one who goes more deeply in the subject matter could, I'm just making a general statement here, but one can, just like in the case of Narada Muni, right? And Narada Muni explains in the Bhagavatam, when he is speaking to his disciple Srila Vyasadeva, he speaks about his previous life. So all of these personalities have had previous lives, and some of these previous lives are come to light or are known. Just like in the case of Narada Muni, we hear about 2 previous lives. Even before he was the son of a maidservant, he was having another life as a Gandharva, isn't it? And he performed some activity which allowed him to be born in that particular family, although as the son of a maidservant, but he got the opportunity to get the association of devotees. So in other words, it's a long process for each living entity who takes birth here in the material world to come to the final level or stage of, let's say, pure devotional service, or to know about the personal features of the Absolute Truth. So I don't know the previous history of Shukadeva Goswami before he took birth, or of the, of the four Kumaras, whether it is available or not in the Shastra. I've not heard, actually. But we can understand in a general sense that every jiva who appears in the material world goes through a very elaborate and long process by which one finally comes, in contact with the Absolute Truth. And definitely those who are, let's say, impersonalists, they are transcendentalists. So it means that they have performed so many activities in their previous lives to come to that position. And as we hear from the Shastra, it is only when one comes in contact with another Vaishnava that one gets an opportunity to himself become a Vaishnava. Or in the case of the Kumaras, they came in contact directly with the Supreme Personality of Godhead by smelling the tulsi flowers on his lotus feet. Whereas Shukadeva Goswami came in contact with the sound vibration of his father, who was a direct incarnation of the Lord. So we understand this principle, that it is not simply because, Prahlad, his father was a demon. And normally he should be a demon. But again, through association, he became a great devotee of the Lord. So it'd be interesting to find out what was previous lives of these personalities. Sometimes it's available, sometimes it's not.
I heard that Shukadeva Goswami, he was the parrot of Srimati Radharani.
Yeah, that is also mentioned. How can a parrot of Srimati Radharani become an impersonalist? Is the next question.
Maharaj, I have a follow-up question with a bit.
Yeah.
If time's allows.
Yes, you're allowed.
Yeah. So this impersonalists, they consider also as transcendentalists.
Yeah.
In some sense. But how can they become considered to be transcendentalists? That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained that the impersonalist is one of the greatest offender, because they try to nullify the existence of the Lord. Then how can we consider that they as transcendentalists? So what does it mean, like transcendentalists?
How can we accept them as transcendentalists when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declares them to be the greatest offenders of the Lord?
Yeah, because they try to nullify the existence of God.
Yeah, so how can we consider devotees, Vaishnavas, transcendentalists, when they commit all kinds of Vaishnava aparat or offenses? In other words, devotees are transcendentalists, they're practicing spiritual life. They also at times, it is not unknown, devotees also who have that full realization of the personality of Godhead also commit offenses. So impersonalists are offenders in that they don't accept the personal features of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they are recognized, or they're known as transcendentalists because they are not interested in matter or in the material world. They have the basic concept and understanding of aham brahmasmi. So that's anyone who has that understanding who is above the material conception of life, is referred to as a transcendentalist. But there are different levels of transcendentalists, as described in the Bhagavatam. So the lowest or the beginning level of transcendentalists are those who believe, have some understanding that there is something beyond matter that we call spirit or transcendental, but they are unfamiliar or unaware of what is the actual nature of that of transcendence, and therefore they they will only come to that platform or position if they are fortunate to come in contact with devotees. Yeah. There's a difference to be made also, we could discuss more in detail at another time, between Mayavadi and impersonalists. Prabhupada explains how people who have no knowledge of the personal aspect of God, but who believe in the concept of God, who believe in transcendence, if by remaining very sincere, Krishna will gradually guide them to personalists or Vaishnavas. Whereas those who are staunch Mayavadis, who deny very often, generally through so-called logic or through by their own means or faculty, the personal feature or aspect, then they are the offenders. So there is a difference to be made between what we call staunch Mayavadis, who manipulate shastras in so many ways to establish their philosophy, and someone who's somewhat innocent, believes in transcendence, but has not yet been presented with the dimension of the personal feature of the absolute truth. So such persons, by getting the proper association, they can become devotees, whereas staunch Mayavadis, as instructed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, should be avoided like the plague because of their, and they are the actual offenders. But ultimately, even those personalities, in due course of time, because all living entities ultimately must come or have an opportunity, will have an opportunity to come to that understanding of the personal feature of Godhead. Yeah. So there's hope for everyone, even Mayavadis. Although we should not, as instructed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we should not be associating with such persons or reading or hearing their statements. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Gaura Premanandi. I think Venkat.